Now that Marc Maron has retired his podcast, it's a good time to look back on two interviews, which back-to-back show him displaying bizarrely different judgments regarding his guests' homophobic jokes. One of these is a famous episode from January 2011, when Maron confronted Gallagher about lesbian jokes told at a recent event. Even though Gallagher denied being homophobic, Maron continued to press him on this point, until Gallagher stormed out of the hotel room where the interview was being held. Fans remember this as a weird win for Maron and an embarrassment for Gallagher. Then, in August of the same year, Maron interviewed Andrew Dice Clay, who was known for homophobic, racist, and sexist material in his 1980s specials. Maron asked him about this, and Clay replied he was just doing an act, and he wasn't really homophobic. Maron accepted this answer, let him off the hook, and they went on to the next topic. But why did Maron have this double standard for the two artists? And how come Gallagher was attacked for a few gay jokes told to a small audience while Dice Clay's material, which was much more offensive and influential, get a pass? In this video, I will compare Maron's inconsistent logic, discuss what kinds of comedians Gallagher and Andrew Dice Clay were in the 1980s, and touch on homophobia in 80s comedy more broadly. First, let's take a listen to that Gallagher interview.
Right, or the wrecks at a car race.
Right, there was an anarchy to it.
Well, they just wanted the smashing and didn't care about my insightful satire.
Okay, well now
buying meaningless things.
Now we fast forward to where we are now, and you've got this reputation of being racist and a homophobe. You know, there are jokes you do that are a little vicious.
They are not.
Why do you have?
I've watched these Comedy Central roasts, and I don't.
Well, a roast is a context.
Anything.
There is a context to that.
Context. And what's my problem? There's no context in a comedy show?
No, there is a context, but I'm just saying that when you attack gay people or you attack...
attack?
Yeah.
I don't attack them.
Yeah, well, you make fun of them in a very aggressive way.
Okay, let's say I tell a joke about a white middle-class man. Does anybody say, why do I not like white middle-class men?
Well, I think that's a false...
why?
Because it is. Because
it's one area of our society is sensitive and can't take a joke. And what am I making jokes about? I'm making jokes about people who don't complain.
Well, tell me some of your jokes about homosexuals, just out of curiosity.
I don't have any jokes about homosexuals, but I might tell a joke. I haven't written any. I tell jokes somebody else wrote.
What are they?
What do you mean? What are my really good homosexual jokes?
Yeah.
What does Siegfried have in common with the tiger? They both know what Roy tastes like. Why don't lesbians lose weight? You can't put Jenny Craig in your mouth with Mary Kay on your face. I mean, they're jokes.
But how do you feel about
It's a nightclub.
I understand what you're saying. It's a nightclub for your particular audience. Now, if you do you think there are homosexuals in your audience?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Did they come up to you and thank you afterwards?
No. Oh, no.
What did they say to you?
They either tell me a better joke than I told, and they laugh about it. I work biker conventions.
Well, I'm sure you do.
Don't you think that there's lesbians in leather riding bikes?
No,
Let me tell you this.
I'm not doubting you.
I never see a guy on the back of a bike that a woman is driving.
Okay.
There are
Not yet.
sexual roles in America and when you break them, it's funny.
I know, but so my question is, if by releasing aggression in an audience is by saying like the Arabs stink, they're all evil, or gays are fucked, and that releases aggression, how is it not just reaffirming fucking prejudice and intolerance in that group of people?
You think I have the power by telling a joke to rally people
to laugh?
Around
to laugh. You rally people to laugh at what? Because they identify with your prejudice. That's why they're laughing. I get that. I hate fags too. Is that releasing aggression in a healthy way?
Hate.
Sure.
There's not hate involved here. We're telling jokes.
Oh, there's a lot of hate and jokes. Come on, you've been doing this too long. You're an angry man. You understand.
I'm not angry.
Really? Political agenda here. I'm just saying that that culturally you've got a reputation, and
So you read a couple of articles before this interview,
dude.
I'm decided whoever was righter than me.
No, I just asked you the jokes, and you addressed the jokes. I put you in the context of the history of comedy. You were a profound presence on the
I
comedy
had
scene.
14 one-hour shows. I must have written some original material.
I'm not saying you didn't write original
And it's
material.
all there.
I'm just asking where
Anybody
you're coming
can
from.
look at
I was just asking where you're coming from. That's all. I respect you as a comedian.
Do you
because
see
you've
any
made it-
lesbian jokes in my 14 one-hour shows?
No.
No.
Who the fuck wants to work a state fair necessarily?
Everybody.
Really?
Yeah.
So in order to work a state fair, you have to take the Gallagher class.
You have to work faster and more general. There are families out there, and they're not interested in your long, subtle stories.
Okay, that's fine. That's a state fair circuit. But the comedy club circuit, the cabaret circuit, can indulge you different. Why can't you just see it as all being part of show business? Why are you angry?
Because there's no show involved.
What?
They're a bunch of slovenly. They hunch over. They turn their back on the audience. They take a
That's
drink
their style.
of water.
It's show business. Why are you drawing lines?
Why are you taking the other side of everything I say?
I'm not. I'm just saying
You
that
are.
I'm
Why did you want me to do this interview if you don't think I know anything about what you're asking me about?
I'm just telling you.
I'm done.
You're done?
I'm done. You're just arguing. It's Howard Stern and.
I'm not. I was just having a conversation.
No, you're not.
I have more respect for comedy.
You're trying to be controversial.
I am not.
Yes, you are. You're just arguing with me. I have 30 years of experience.
Well, then tell me
And
about
you think
comedy.
don't know what
I
the
just
hell
think that
I'm
show
talking
business is show business.
Well, then why don't you do the interview and tell people your opinion?
We were having a good conversation.
No, it's.
Oh, come on, Gallagher.
As you heard from the interview, the specific gay jokes he was telling were relatively mild and not told out of hate for gays. They would make a younger audience cringe and roll their eyes, however, and would play better to an older boomer audience. It was relevant for Maron to ask about them, but if he wanted to keep things civil, he could have accepted Gallagher's answer and moved on to the next topic. Instead, he hammered Gallagher righteously and mercilessly for the better part of the interview. And at the end, he was even picking a fight over what comedy styles were better, broader county fair-type acts or introspective storyteller comedians. This isn't to say Gallagher's opinion is the correct one, but a polished interviewer, which Maron can be when he wants to, guides his subject to talk about certain topics, not argue with them on every point. The short of it is that Maron thinks that comedians like Andrew Dice Clay are serious contemporaries he can relate to, while someone like Gallagher is a gimmicky hack. So, when he found a vulnerability, Maron went for it and attacked. Maron has a history of doing this and has apologized for times he chastised other comedians. To this day, Jon Stewart will not forgive Maron for personal attacks, like calling him a pandering Jew, and refused to go on his podcast. As for Gallagher, an honest assessment of his career is that he peaked in the 80s and was in decline by the 2000s when Maron caught up with him. A lot of his 80s material feels dated and corny by modern standards, but his overall message is that of a feisty liberal baby boomer, one of questioning social norms, analyzing mundane frustrations, critiquing consumer culture, and questioning authority and institutions. A few jokes would be considered politically incorrect by modern standards, but he can be forgiven because he did not have an overall hateful message like Andrew Dice Clay did. Overall, he was positive, family-friendly, and his prop jokes are still funny.
Look, somebody threw away a perfectly good Gallagher doll. Why do they do this? These damn things are rare. You just don't run across these all the time. And look, here's a perfectly good Tonight Show home game. Here's Johnny. Look, it had a car neck, had a guest host, there's Joey.
In the early 2000s, he had become a curmudgeon with a reputation for being personally difficult. Carrot Top, a comedian who had been heavily influenced by Gallagher and had a long personal relationship with him, told it best.
He's there, so I give him the look, and he's like, and I'm like, wait. So I bring a stool out, and I bring this big fucking watermelon out.
That
and
you
I
went
put
to Vaughn's and bought.
Yes, I
Amazing.
put the watermelon on top of the stool, and I go to grab the hammer, and right when I go to grab the hammer, Gallagher runs out. I thought he was going to take the hammer, but instead he takes the watermelon and he shoves me as hard as you can shove me. He shoves me so hard. He's so fucking mad at it. He's just angry and he's shoving me. And he's got the watermelon. And I'm like, oh, and I almost fall. And I have this like hammer.
What's the crowd doing?
They're going crazy. They're going nuts. And then and I walk out, I said, fucking Gallagher, and they went crazy. And at the end, people were like, what was that really Gallagher? And it was great. So at the end, I said, oh my God, I go to give him a hug. I said, that was the most, dude, did you see that? It was great. I have videos to show you. And he's like, I still don't fucking get it. I said, it just killed. You just lived it. You just lived the moment. It was. Did you hear the crowd? I still don't understand what's the purpose. What was it for, though? I said it's for us. It's not for anything. Oh, it's going to be like social. I said I'm not going to even put it on social media. I just want to do it for fun. We're having fun. This will be a moment you can. And if you want to share it, I can put it on thing. People will think it's funny. But if you don't want to put it on anything, I won't share it with anybody. And he's like, it's not funny even to share. I said, Gallagher, it's brilliant. So he came back, told me never to show it, and yelled at me again. And then I think he took the Carrot Top shirt home with him. Still wearing a Carrot Top shirt somewhere.
A look through some of his interviews at the time have some yikesy moments. He did believe Bush-era propaganda about Arab terrorists. Also, in another interview, he said that Mexicans with Spanish backgrounds star in TV shows, while Mexicans of Native American descent are short and do yard work. This is a tacky and insensitive statement, but from his point of view, he is making an honest observation about the racism inherent in Mexican society, not being racist himself. Overall, the articles that go with the narrative that he is racist did have some genuine material to work with, but are also time capsules from the early 2000s, when the idea of cancel culture was just getting started. Now let's compare Maron's righteous condemnation of Gallagher with his love fest with Andrew Dice Clay.
What's going on today? Andrew Dice Clay, a controversial figure to many. I like Andrew. I think he's funny. I was a doorman at the Comedy Store in 1986, and I happened to be a doorman right when Kennison was peaking and Dice was right behind him in terms of becoming the biggest comedy stars in the world. Now, when I saw Dice, he was doing his nursery rhymes. He was doing his cigarette shtick. He had the full artillery. He had the full uniform, the Dice uniform. And I never understood, because I left the Comedy Store, I never quite understood why he was the one that got crucified by certain groups for being a certain thing. Because I always saw him as sort of a spectacle, almost a complete character. I'm going to talk to him about that. I will address that with him. But I was always sort of impressed with the uniqueness of his presentation. He was definitely a character, and I was always, quite frankly, intimidated by him. Talk about the crucifixion of Dice. At the turn of because I'm one of these guys, I have a lot of respect. You spawned a whole generation of comics. You got Rich Voss, you got Jim Norton, you got Florentine, you got guys that look
Jameson, Don Jameson.
Yep. Yeah. Guys who sort of took your model and understood what you were about and pushing the envelope and being, just sort of a politically incorrect fucking clown on some level.
Uh-huh. And I used to call myself a Brooklyn bozo. I go, how come the press doesn't get that?
Well, I never understood
when I'm
either.
watching Nightline and they're having a debate about me, I'm going, don't they understand I'm just a comic?
Why'd they pick you?
Well, you know what? I went to such a level to, I was doing, close to 100,000 people a week in concert. And that scared the media. So I became a lightning rod for every group looking for their own attention. So if I picked on the gays, the gays would attack me. They'd get their attention. The the now movement. Where
do you stand on because I interviewed Jimmy Norton, and Patrice, and I love those guys. And now there's a lot of conversation about what jokes should be or shouldn't be or political correctness. But it seems that what you came upon your thing was sort of organic. How do you answer to that shit?
But the thing is, that's why it's called jokes, because jokes are just to make people laugh.
Right.
Some of the stuff on stage, I try to make a point with. Some of the stuff on stage, I say just to outrage and make people laugh really hard.
Do you think
I do a joke where I come on stage and I go, so last night I'm with this Puerto Rican chick. I fucked her so hard her asshole popped out.
Yeah.
Did that really happen? Can an asshole really pop out?
I think so.
Like if I was a journalist, Would I even ask that question?
But did you ever feel like you ever hurt anybody? Did anyone ever come up to you and go, you really?
No, never.
Right?
People
Gay
love what
people,
I do.
women, nobody.
Gay people love Dice.
Right.
You know, it just became the thing in the late 80s to go after Dice.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Yeah.
You know, I could sit here and go, I have gay friends, I have
Sure.
gay...
No, I get you.
And I do, but
Right.
I'm not trying to prove anything.
No, I
They're
get
just
it.
my friends.
This interview is maddening because they are both being so dishonest. Yes, Dice was doing the character of a dumb Brooklyn guy and is making fun of his own bravado and womanizing. However, politically, he is claiming to be a parody of a reactionary conservative like Archie Bunker. But that's not what he is. He is stating his honest opinions about hating homosexuals and immigrants. And his audience aren't even laughing. They are applauding when he affirms their prejudice in a clear and unambiguous way, just like Maron had been saying Gallagher's jokes did. Take a listen for yourself.
See, I just don't get that whole gay thing at all. To me, that's just common sense, you know? I don't see how a guy lays on the beach, looks at another guy's hairy ass and says, oh yeah. Oh, I gotta have that. I ain't leaving the beach till I meet him. Come on. They're on TV every day, every fucking day. We want our rights. We want our rights. I'll give them rights. 10% off of Vaseline. Now get the fuck back in the closet. And they walk with that limp wrist. Their wrists aren't limp. They're busted from being on their hands and knees all night. Come on. But you know what it is? You got all kinds. You got these trans testicles. Yeah, that's a nice Sunday surprise. Meet the girl of your dreams, you wine at diner, you take her home, you put your hand up her skirt, you're holding a tree trunk. What do you say? Hey, for a chick, you got some set of balls on you. And bisexual? No such thing. Let me clear that up right now. You either suck dick or you do not suck dick. There's no in between here. There's no middle ground. What do these guys do? Get up in the morning and flip a coin to decide. Heads, I want hair pie. Tails, balls across the nose. Oh, shit. And then you got these other people, right? I don't know what they are. They're not white. They're not black. They're like urine colored, you know? They walk around with that fucking laundry on their head and shit, you know what I'm saying? See, let me tell you something. I grew up in a neighborhood with black, white, that kind of shit, you know what I'm saying? I could relate to black guys. I could hang out with black guys. I can't hang out with a guy whose name is Ahmad. I can't see saying to my mom, hey, Mom, I'm going to the ballpark. Me and Ahmad are going to play a little basketball. You know what I'm saying? They don't know the fucking language. It's unbelievable. I get in a cab, right? I get in a fucking cab. And I say to the guy, get me to the Theater of Living Arts, right? So this guy turns around with that smell. They never heard of soap, these fucking people, right? With that fucking smell, and he's looking at me. I'm you fucking geek, huh? Where did they grow you? What rock did you crawl out from under, huh? They should have a sign at the airport that says, look, if you don't know the language, get the fuck out of the country. Yeah.
That last bit is an out-and-out right-wing anti-immigrant call and response. In fact, if he had been speaking at the same Donald Trump rally where Tony Hinchcliffe had made offensive jokes about Puerto Rico, his 1989 act would have killed with a 2024 MAGA audience. They would have loved his trans testicle joke as well. I'm surprised that joke didn't have a comeback during the transcultural wars. And then there is the gaslighting of when Clay says homosexuals weren't coming up to him saying they were offended. That probably didn't happen much because gays wouldn't be comfortable hanging around an audience that hated them. But at the same time, he said gay groups were speaking out against him. So that means they were offended.
People would be chanting these, almost like Nuremberg. It was scary. As a gay man, I would never, ever be in that crowd.
His targets are underdogs. And comedy traditionally has picked on people in power, people who abuse their power. Women and gays and immigrants are kind of, to my way of thinking, underdogs. And, he ought to be careful because he's Jewish. And a lot of the people who want to pick on these kind of groups, the Jews are on that list a little further. You got women, gays, gypsies, blah, 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 blah. And then suddenly you find Jews. And
Suddenly Andrew's arrested.
Yeah. So, obviously he should do what he wants. And
why does he get away with it, do you think, then?
Well,
we have never laughed at jokes about the poor.
He's appealing. I think he's appealing largely. I think his core audience are young white males who are threatened by these groups. I think a lot of these guys aren't sure their manhood because that's a problem when you're going in through adolescence. Am I really? Could I be? I hope I'm not one of them. And the women who assert themselves and are competent are a threat to these men, and so are immigrants in terms of jobs and
so that's why we as an audience then will laugh.
You say we. I don't think you're.
No.
But I think you're
collective we.
I think that's what is at the core of that experience that takes place in these arenas is a certain a sharing of anger and rage at these targets.
My personal connection with Dice's work was being a small-town grade schoolboy in 1989 and 1990 when Dice was at his peak. In 1990, he was a major cultural figure, and MTV was massively promoting his film Ford Fairlane by putting Billy Idol's song Rock the Cradle of Love from the film's soundtrack into heavy rotation. It's funny we live in a time where movies like Tom Green's Freddy Got Fingered is being given a second look that perhaps it is a misunderstood masterpiece. But no one is re-watching or examining Ford Fairlane. It's just a crap picture on all levels. In '89, some of my friends invited me to watch The Dice Man Cometh on VHS at their house, and then they repeated his scatological gay jokes on the playground. My parents had told me homophobia was wrong, but I was not brave enough at the time to be the one kid standing up for gay rights, and I think few kids at the time were. This was widespread. Not only were adults yucking it up at his gay jokes in stadiums, but closeted gay kids were literally having their feelings hurt all over America. Which is why it's amazing that he was cast in Lady Gaga's remake of A Star Is Born, as Gaga is known for her gay rights activism with a focus of protecting young queers from discrimination. Sure, Dice was saying he isn't really homophobic, and by 2019 his views had changed, but one wonders if Lady Gaga had ever seen The Dice Man Cometh, or if any of the older gay men in her orbit had brought it to her attention how vile he had been in his prime. I think if she had been familiar with his old material, she wouldn't have cast him. The Lady Gaga movie and an episode of his short-lived 2015 sitcom Dice, where he attends a gay wedding, all reek of overcompensation. He knows he can't have a career in the 2000s with homophobic material like he did in the 80s, so he insincerely kisses the ring of the gay rights movement. Marc Maron's double standard on homophobia should be seen in the context of him being a young man in the 1980s, which was generally a more homophobic time. Gay jokes could be seen all over the mainstream. Even a kids' film like E.T. used penis breath as a colorful insult. Eddie Murphy was the most popular comedian of the decade, and no one was canceling him for his gay jokes. And at the time, Maron's friend and idol was Sam Kinison. His friendship with Kinison is something he looks back on fondly, and was helpful to his comedy career early on. And Kinison had homophobic material that was even worse than Andrew Dice Clay.
That a group of homosexual necrophiliacs have been going around to mortuaries offering them money to let them come in at night and spend a couple hours undisturbed with the freshest male corpse. Because a few fags fucked some monkeys, they got so bored their own assholes weren't enough. They had to go in the fucking jungle, grab some fucking monkey and fuck him in the ass, and bring us back the Black Plague of the fucking 80s. Thanks, guys! Because of this shit, they want us to wear fucking rubbers. Man, why don't we just turn back the hands of time?
Kinison believed homosexuality was a perversion, blamed the very existence of AIDS on gay men, and believed AIDS was God's punishment against them. Is there anything more homophobic than that? Andrew Dice Clay shared in this belief that AIDS was God's will.
And then you know what cracks me up altogether? When AIDS finally breaks out all over the country like mildew. You got 20 million faggots running around and they're going, we where can this come from? How can I get this? How can you get this? It's very simple. Let me explain this. If you're walking around with shit on your dick every day, you're bound to pick something up. You know what I'm saying? This ain't a 24-hour virus. It ain't a migraine headache. Maybe this is God's way of saying, hey, fellas. Wake up.
Now, this thing about the gay community, let's get this fucking shit done out of the way. Now, I know I offended the gays, or these last 2 albums that I did. They said I was in bad taste. They said my jokes were in bad taste. These are guys that lick the shit out of each other's ass on a fucking date, telling me my jokes are in bad taste. Now, am I missing something here? These guys tongue fuck each other in the butt for an hour and a half, but you put on a Kinnison album and they can't fucking handle it. It's like, blah, blah, you know. They can suck a dick this long, but I fucking gag them. I make them fucking, blah, blah, you know. Insensitive. They called me insensitive. These are guys that put gerbils and hamsters up their ass. Insensitive. How sensitive can you be if you're putting a live animal in your fucking ass?
That last clip from Kinnison's 1990 Live in Las Vegas special doesn't make sense at all. First of all, the only person known for putting gerbils up his butt is Richard Gere, who is straight. The idea of the fetish known as gerbiling being connected to gays has no basis in reality. Later in the same special, Kinnison talks about how much he loves sniffing poppers, which is an amyl nitrate drug made famous in the gay scene. Did he not realize he was telling his audience he enjoys gay sex drugs? Kinnison's stupidity and lack of self-awareness is stunning, and he was the idol and close friend of the righteous Marc Maron. Maron's comedic style is very different from Sam Kinnison or Andrew Dice Clay's. One comic he does resemble, however, and who he cites as a major influence is Bill Hicks. Both comedians are known for sharing their philosophical and personal anxieties on stage. The two even performed together in the early 90s, and Bill Hicks has a gay joke of his own that doesn't make any sense. In his Sane Man special, Bill Hicks goes after George Michael, saying he isn't a real man, he's just a big girl. And if a woman likes his music, it's because they are sexually attracted to him as a girl, and that makes them lesbians. Then he chastises George Michael for doing a Diet Coke commercial, saying this means he isn't a real rock star like Keith Moon of The Who, and he's just a prancing sissy. On one hand, this shows that Hicks has typical masculine limits on his musical taste, and he thinks classic rock from his youth is the only good form of music. This also ignores that classic rockers like David Bowie, Freddie Mercury, and Mick Jagger were bisexuals, and all of these classic rockers have had their share of commercial endorsements, including The Who. He just has open contempt for gay pop stars, and he fantasizes about shooting them. Hicks is much beloved and considered a comics comic, but he was a product of his time and a little bit homophobic, maybe a lot homophobic. And this joke has always baffled me. Why would listening to George Michael make a woman a lesbian? Because Michael is gay, his fans are lesbians? Lesbians are known for listening to folk music, Bill. Don't you know that? Seems to me listening to nice pop music is exactly what you would expect a straight woman to do. If you're going to be homophobic, Bill, please do it in a way that is coherent. And in this next bit about how offensive he finds children's books that educate about homosexuality, he sounds like Ron DeSantis when he was passing book ban laws in Florida under the guise of protecting children from perverted gay groomers.
Speaking of homosexuality, I consider myself fairly open-minded, but something has come to my attention I find absolutely shocking. I don't know if you've heard about it. These new grade school books for children to teach them gay lifestyles. You know what I'm talking about? One of them is called Heather's Two Mommies. The other is called Daddy's New Roommate. I'm going to have to draw the line here, folks, and say this is absolutely disgusting, okay? It is grotesque and evil. I'm talking about Daddy's New Roommate. Heather's Two Mommies is pretty cool. I don't know if you've ever checked that out. They're hugging on page 7. Oh, go, mommies, go, go. Anyway.
Oh yes, straight men like to watch lesbian porn. Very clever, Bill. And that clip is famous because it was a segment on David Letterman that was pulled by the producers for being too offensive. Now, if you are a true comedy fan, you're against censorship. But did the Letterman team make the right call when they pulled this? I think we can look to a recent Marc Maron bit about anti-woke comedians for guidance on whether this was right or wrong.
Now there's all these comedians like, I'm an anti-woke comic, man. I'm anti-woke, and that's why I don't get work. Really? You think that's the reason? Yeah, man, we can't say anything anymore. Like, me and all the other anti-woke comedians, we all want to say our version of the same 3 things, and you just can't. You can't say anything anymore. And I'm pretty sure you can say whatever you want, really. It's like, no, you can't, man. You can. They're just maybe consequences. See, that's the fucked up thing, the consequences.
Yes, that's a good point about consequences. So why was he so surprised that Andrew Dice Clay, who you could say, along with Kinison, was one of the original anti-woke comedians, had consequences for his hate-mongering against gays? Is it because between Dice, Kinison, and Hicks, Maron was yucking it up to a lot of homophobic jokes back in the day? Because Maron can't have it both ways, where he defends homophobic comedians of his youth and condemns transphobic anti-woke comedians of the present. If he was in the nightclub laughing at Kinison and Dice, then he himself was homophobic once, even if he no longer is today. Now, I know this may come across as an attack video, but I want to say I only have these observations and criticisms of him because I've been a long-time enjoyer of his work. I became a fan in the 90s because he was a frequent guest on Conan O'Brien. I even went to see him live at a small club in San Francisco in 2002. I remember he made a joke about wanting to sleep with teenage girls, which would spark outrage in the current cultural climate, but at the time he got a laugh for being edgy. Sort of like gay jokes in the 80s. I was also a long-time listener of his podcast back when he was the top podcaster, long before Joe Rogan's rise. That is how I noticed his inconsistency when these 2 episodes were originally broadcast. I stopped listening to him around 2018 because it seemed like he had run out of comedians to interview and now had to fill spots by interviewing whatever actor was promoting their film or TV show. These were tiresome because he often wasn't familiar with their work and would ask questions about their early days in improv groups or what their religious background was. Really, who cared? If I wanted to see an actor promote their product, I would watch a 5-minute Jimmy Fallon segment. They aren't worth the deep dive. And while making this video, I realized these 3 comics personify very different times in my comedy viewing life. I watched Gallagher with my parents as a child, loved him for the gimmicks, and only partially understood his message. When Andrew Dice Clay was popular, I was a teenage boy who liked dirty jokes and didn't really understand the concept that comedy should punch up, not down. And I was a Maron fan as an introspective young man with intellectual yearnings. I think that's enough said on this topic. If you liked the video, please like, subscribe, and press the notification bell so you can be alerted to future videos.
You've just watched a Johnny Pissoff production. Please help us fight the trolls by following us here and at johnnypissoff.com and watch the next video.